He was talking, I could hear it, and I'm like, I got to remember to tell them to close that, and then I forgot.
Okay. Cool.
So
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I kept hearing that too.
You guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, stand by.
Yeah, especially since we're focusing on audio stuff, sounds.
Yeah.
Here we go. Record.
Being here.
Rolling. Terry, you rolling? Here we go in 5.
Hey guys, we are broadcasting at the Wild and Scenic Film Fest, based here in Nevada City and Grass Valley. It just gets like taken over with so much positive inspiration and action. Filmmakers and special guests like everyday action heroes are coming from all over the world to be here today, this weekend. So if you're not here, you haven't been, you need to come on down and join it. Or thanks for joining us too on Facebook Live. So, you know, there's a big part when you're creating media. And, you know, we think of the visuals, and that's such an important part. But another aspect of that are just the sounds. And actually, as we're out in the wild world, one of the reasons why it's so important for us to be out in the wild world is to take in other aspects of our senses that we start closing off in our everyday lives as we're like here on our devices. And that's the sounds. That's the sounds. And I'm so excited to have Matthew and Palmer here with us. It's our first time, guys,
yeah,
right?
It is indeed. It is.
Yeah. They're going to have to, now you're going to have to come back.
I know.
That's definitely the plan.
Right? Definitely the plan. Their film is called Being Here. So tell us about the film. I know we had you guys on last night, but and how just sound and audio comes into all of this in our lives and how it enhances it.
Sure. Yeah, totally. So Being Here is a short kind of narrative piece featuring acoustic ecologist and Emmy-Award winning sound recordist Gordon Hempton. And Gordon has spent the past 3 decades recording and working to preserve our natural soundscapes. Because what he realized when he started getting into listening, really listening to nature, is that we're losing our silent places. Just meaning that noise pollution is prohibiting us from hearing nature as it was meant to be. And now we have research to show that, you know, increased noise pollution can lead to hypertension and lack of attention and lower reading scores in children. So it's really, you know, it's an important issue, but it's also a metaphor for kind of being present in life and really using our senses to their fullest capability.
And Palmer, how were you engaged and involved in this film? And what did you take away from this whole experience?
Totally. So I was the cinematographer and also the director with Matt. It's actually just the 2 of us on this film. We did everything together.
You guys are superheroes.
Yeah, we
super duo.
I suppose so. So essentially, Matt a couple of years ago approached me and said, you know, I've been reading this book and I've heard about this guy named Gordon. He sounds super interesting. Matt being an audio engineer himself and me being a filmmaker, he said, maybe someday we should make a film. And I said, yeah, that sounds great. And then fast forward to last year, we came back from winter break and being in college, and Matt said, okay, we're going to make this film now. Let's do it. So we went and I said, okay, great. I don't really have anything else going on. I'm looking for a new project, and did some research myself and just really like fell in love with this message, and went out, met with Gordon and spent some time with him and just really, you know, got to know him very well.
What is Gordon like? I would think you'd have to be a pretty unique person, right? Where your focus is being just out in the wild world and especially attuned to just the sounds of that.
So when I went out and filmed, it was actually the first time I had really met Gordon in person, and he's just an incredible person with such an open heart and an open mind. And you can just tell in his eyes and the way that he speaks, it's really just poetry. It's all poetry. It's really just beautiful. He has so much experience in listening. And it's amazing to actually go out and record with him because he's so still, just the way he walks, and he has an acute awareness of sound. And just spending time with him, you start to kind of realize that yourself as well, that it's growing on you, and you start to become aware of that sense and that auditory sense, and just learn from him. And it's amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And Matt, what was like in this film and just hanging out with Gordon, what are the sounds, what is one sound that resonates with you still that you think about, or maybe it even surprised you for like both you guys?
Yeah, so there's one sound in particular, and it's probably my favorite sound that I've ever heard. And it's a sound that Gordon recorded of coyotes when he lives out in the Olympic Peninsula of Washington State. Very, very remote, no neighbors, no cars, no airplanes. It's just completely quiet. And there was a pair of coyotes that were mating, and the sound is just, you hear them call, and the sound reverberates for 15 or 20 seconds, and you almost hear kind of the valleys and the mountains as the sound travels through it. And it's one of the first sounds that we use in our film, right as the title screen comes up. So listen for those coyote. It's just an amazing, it gives you really an amazing sense of space and how wild that place really is.
That's super cool. How about for you, Palmer?
For me, it's probably the Elk Bugle.
The Elk Bugle?
Yes.
Wait, is this the type of elk?
No, this is the sound that it makes. It's called a bugle.
Elk Bugle, okay.
Yeah, so I'd heard of the bugle, and Matt and I were I'd never actually listened to it, but I had heard it said before, and I was like, what could that possibly sound like? Matt and I were joking and kind of pretending.
Can you replicate it?
We're kind of like, Allah, you know, like what does a bugle sound like? I'm thinking of like a trumpet. Yeah, and turns out it's actually much more like a deep throat kind of yell. I can't replicate it. You know, I wouldn't even bother.
I could tell Matt kind of wants to.
Yeah.
Oh no, that law. That was just what we imagined it to be, but it's
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It's not anything like that, and it's not a sound that a human could make for sure. But we were out in the forest, and we had a chance to, we happened upon this herd of elk, and they started doing this sound, and it was almost like we couldn't not laugh about it while we were trying to not get run over by elk.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
I mean, with all these sounds that we're talking about, the coyotes and the elk, it's really interesting. In our film, Gordon talks about the auditory horizon. So in the Olympic Peninsula, especially in the Hoh Rainforest, which is actually the quietest space in continental U.S., there's an auditory horizon, meaning the distance that sound can travel of 20 square miles. So you can hear, if you draw a circle and the circumference of that circle is 20 square miles. Whereas in a city, you can only hear for a few city blocks. You could hear someone yelling your name or the footsteps of the people behind you. But in nature, if we seek these quiet spaces, we can hear for miles.
That's cool. That's really cool. I asked you guys this last night, but when we talk about being at the edge, because that's our theme this year, what's a moment for you when you've been at the edge and had to take that leap?
I have a different story.
Oh, he's got a new story. All right. Was your story around the elk, Palmer? Was that yours?
Story again?
Do you have a new one?
I have an edge, story of the edge as far as creating this film. So Matt and I made this film, as I said, it was just the two of us, and then when we came home to make the film, we kind of had, all these interviews with Gordon. We had all this footage and really amazing stories and time we had spent with him. But we were trying to figure out how are we going to make this film? How do we make a story arc? And what we actually did, which was kind of risky, is we actually edited the film without sound. Because we wanted the film to be about sound. We wanted it to be the last thing that we did because we wanted it to have a heightened importance. So I cut together this film with Matt basically to silence. It was just visuals. And that was just are we doing the right thing here? I'm not sure. And then Matt went into his audio design software and started laying in the sounds of the coyotes and the elk. And that's when it kind of clicked and it made sense. And that's when it totally enhances that experience of the film. In media, right? You realize what power that has. Yeah. That's great. When we were making it, as I said, it was just kind of, I had never edited a film in that way without sound. I mean, we're talking maybe just the interview over beautiful shots of Olympic National Park, but I think it was a good choice, and it kind of stuck to the message of the film, which I think was really important. When's it screening? It's screening tomorrow on Sacred Sunday is the film block. It's at 9:30 a.m. at the Miners Foundry, and then 1 o'clock at the Oddfellows Theater. Okay, cool. All right. What's your new at the Edge story, Matt? So it's a little bit gross, but I'm sure you guys can bear with me. We can handle it. We, our second day of production, we went out to a beach called Rialto Beach. And Rialto is this amazing wilderness beach preserved in Olympic National Park. But on our way there, we stopped to get some breakfast at one of the local diners. The area around Rialto Beach is not necessarily known for its great quality food or anything like that. It's a little rural, and so anyway, I had something called the Sasquatch Burger. Wow. Which was delicious, but it just did not quite settle right with me, and we were hiking on Rialto Beach.
And this is the first time that Palmer has been out with Gordon, and I'm really kind of I'm trying to make sure that Palmer's comfortable with Gordon and Gordon is comfortable, you know. And I was like, guys, I'm really not feeling well. So I took shelter in this really old redwood drift log. I just like could not move and ended up, you know,
doing your thing,
getting sick and all that stuff. But so I was just kind of huddled there in this freezing rain under this log. I'm like, wow, you know, the lavish life of a filmmaker, you know, just under
life
this log.
At the edge.
Yeah, life at the edge, indeed.
The most beautiful place you've ever gotten sick.
Yes, definitely. But that was just kind of a moment where I was like, wow, okay, well, this is what I decided I wanted to do with my life, is sit here under this log and get sick.
Eat Bigfoot burgers, too.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. Yeah. So number one lesson is go at the edge.
Right.
And maybe don't eat the Bigfoot burger.
Yeah. Again, Forks, Washington is a great town, but maybe stay away from the Sasquatch burger.
Did you see any vampires when you guys were up there? That's the other big question.
Yes.
Vampires, right?
So it's
Twilight?
It's pretty funny. Yeah, exactly. So going there, I was like, oh, Forks, Washington, that sounds really familiar. We pull into town and everything is Twilight. It's like Twilight gas station. There's a store called Native to Twilight, which is really interesting.
It's like transformed this little town.
There's two things that have happened in Forks, Washington over the past 100 years, one of which is Twilight and the other of which is harvesting logs from the forest. So everything is revolved around those two things.
Well, and now the third thing is being here.
Yeah,
right.
Being here, third thing.
Yep.
Hey guys, thanks Matt and thanks Palmer. It was really great to have you guys stop by, and
thank you.
We're excited to have you guys here at the Wild and Scenic Film Fest, and I hope you have a fantastic time.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Real quick, we just launched a new website for our
I was
film.
going to ask, tell everyone how
so
they
we're on
connect with it.
Facebook. It's Being Here, and here is spelled H-E-A-R, Being Here. And we just launched a new website yesterday. It's fresh. It looks great. It's beinghere.com.
Just in time for the Film Fest.
Yes.
All right, cool. I'm Elisa Parker. It's the Wild and Scenic Film Fest. We're broadcasting from the Media Lounge. We'll be hanging out with you all weekend. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Guys, that was awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks,
you.
Matt. That's
you.
cool. Those are cool
Yeah.
stories. I know. When you said that, I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, Twilight.
Yep.
Because there was a whole thing on NPR once about